I'm here. I'm not there.
How's it, everyone? It's again the Tour de France. It started. Let me start off by telling you about my health. COVID negative, all good in the wood. So we don't have to worry about that. Interesting 3 days in the Tour de France here in Copenhagen. Been awesome to see the crowd that's come out. I mean, this is what the Tour de France is about. It's about, having the people on the side of the road. It's been fantastic to see the support. The riders deserve it after a few really quiet years, which has been abnormal for the Tour de France. Obviously, we all know why. So it's been super cool to watch. It's been hard to watch. I can honestly say I have been watching. I enjoy watching the Tour de France. I'm still a fan of cycling, so even though I can't be there, I still enjoy seeing how it pans out and watching the race. Anyway, I think let's crack into it. Let's talk about what's happened this last 3 days. Obviously, you know what? Let me start off with the time trial. I am so glad that my sponsors did not make me wear a sock over my head. You can get an aerodynamic gain, but yes, looks over, fashion over performance in that regard. I mean, geez, I am so very, very happy that I'm near the end of my career, and I don't think I'll be tricked into wearing one of these hats or whatever, sock over your head. Ridiculous. Then we also got G, sporting a new thing. There's Gelé on, but that was a mistake. But yeah, the sock, I just still can't get my head around the sock. I think when I look at the photos, I just think to myself, those poor guys. They've been told that this is faster. I mean, to what degree do you think that this is so much more quicker? And then you get the guy who won the race from those teams didn't even wear one. So Gilbert always told me, actually, the winner is always right. So I'm glad that we can put that to bed. Surprise winner. Not in a surprise because, Kenny time trial, of course. Lampard is a fantastic bike rider, all-round bike rider. But cool to see an underdog win. I think someone who nobody talked about over the last couple of days. And that's always cool to go to the Tour de France and see someone else that doesn't get their time in the sun as much as the main guys always do. So I can honestly say that was super cool to see. You got the guys like the normal guys, Vingegaard, we've got Roglic, and we've got Pogacar and those kinds of guys that didn't lose much time. A few guys decked it. A few guys lost a bit of valuable seconds, obviously trying to push. I think a big thing on the day was the tyre pressure, guys painting names on the roads, things like that. And, the hype of the Tour de France, the fans, you kind of get pushed into that zone of like risking it for the win. So it's easy to get absorbed in that. And I think a few guys kind of got caught by that. That being said, it was I think super exciting to watch. Then we moved on to stage 2. Again, we had like people talking about there's going to be crosswinds. And the thing is, when you make a course up somewhere else where people don't usually race or they're not used to having the Tour de France, there's always this hype about racing and there's always hype about the event and what's going to come, and this stage is going to have a tricky section and it's going to be narrow roads or whatever. In this case, it was an 18-kilometer bridge, which is 90% of the time crosswind. But the problem is when you go to a race like this and they make a course like this and it's pretty flat, that if you don't have wind, if you don't have anything or it's headwind, it's going to be a real boring day. And I think that's what we got. I mean, cool to see Maggie Core take the King of the Mountains jersey. Didn't doubt him out of that group. But yeah, that was the only real action of the day. And then obviously a few guys binned it and things like that. But, nothing was going to change on the day. I think there's lots of nervous energy. We're already seeing the big teams burning matches. We're seeing Ineos, we're seeing, Jumbo Visma, UAE, the usual suspects there. I think team that actually played at the best was actually that chilled the most was like Quickstep and stuff. I mean, they come right at the end and get it trained together, although things didn't go as 100% planned. I mean, but you could see Jakobsen just way quicker, 10 pedal strokes straight through there. Fastest over the last 100 meters there quickly. Got open road and then surpassed. But it's when you look at that, you go, man, that guy had a big Bingle 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I can't remember, but to see him bounce back like that, win a stage in the Tour de France. And also I want to talk about a little bit about it because I think it's been played up in the media. I think I want to talk about kind of a little bit of how much pressure he must have been under, you know, to have a guy like Cav sitting on the sideline, and then, like, although there's no bad blood between the two riders or anything, I don't believe so. I think deep down he also has to take that on himself, kind of to prove, although we know he can win a lot of races, I think having that in the background, that adds to so much pressure for him. And then, you know, day two, nail it. That's big match temperament. I think he can be complimented on that kind of race. I think he held his own in the sprint, elbows out, you know, really like, you know, kept his composure there, and definitely the fastest guy. It must be hard to deal with that, especially as a young guy, and, you know, everybody knows what a guy like Cav can do. So kudos to Jakobsen for pulling that off. A great ride. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about stage 3. I mean, we've just seen it today. Nothing really, again, you know, super boring start. Maggie goes up the road, collects a whole bunch of points, sits up. Again, it's the thing. I mean, I think the organisers, the Tour de France ASO, was hoping for carnage, wind, echelons, pieces, body pieces all over the road. I mean, we had narrow roads. Was it a final suited for a Tour de France sprint? I think there was a few dodgy sections there. I don't think it was needed, you know, a couple of U-turns there, and then, you know, we saw a crash, we saw a couple of guys lose times. Fellow South African Louis Meintjes, who I think's been riding particularly well, did a really good time trial, so it was sad to see him lose a bit of time today. Would have been nice to, you know, see him not lose those, I don't know how much he lost, 30-40 seconds, but yeah, that was a bit of a downer, you know. But I think yeah, I think we've all been talking about how this wind, and then, you know, you have all these expectations, you go to the race and then nothing happens, and you just, poor commentators had to sit there for 5 hours or so just talking nonsense about the crowds and whatever. But one interesting part was what they spoke about was, because there were so many fans, there was actually nowhere to put your car so that you could actually feed riders. That's actually been the biggest challenge for a lot of teams there, is like, you can bring all your extra staff and that to feed the riders so they don't have to come back and get bottles. But now what you're having is that there's so many spectators, you actually, even riders can't stop for a pee anywhere because there's so many spectators, and, you know, you can't urinate in front of the spectators. So I think it's been quite a challenge for the whole peloton, is to have so much hype and so many people around, which is fantastic. But then we've also got the other part of it, is that logistically it's become a lot more difficult for the teams. Talk about the sprints, you know, I think that was a super sprint by Groenewegen. Kind of, they got a little bit disjointed there at the end, but really, like, found his way through, got a bit of open road, got it on the throw. I mean, Wout van Aert consistently there. Also super cool to see him in the Maillot Jaune, because I think he's the guy who's been knocking on the door. He's you know, it's super cool to have a guy like of his level leading the Tour de France. I think the green jersey is going to be sewn up by him in a couple of days. I don't see many guys putting him away. He can do everything. Classy bike rider, who we all know, and it's going to be very difficult for the sprinters or someone to rival him for that green jersey. And I think you're going to really see it. You know, even today, the bonus sprint there, we had like 5 or 6 guys just following on the wheel there, nobody giving it 100% because the sprint's coming. But it looks to me like no one really believes they're going to even challenge a guy like Van Aert. So I think he's pretty much just scared off the competition straight off the bat. Yeah, that's my opinion. Then you know how good the guy actually is when you're getting a few guys just kind of like semi-believing that in case something happens, maybe they're still up there, you know, so they can't give up, but they kind of, I almost get this feeling like they've kind of just given up a little bit already on that green jersey. You know, a couple good things to know what I noticed today as well was, at one point it was like nearly like a blockade wind or whatever, tailwind, or there was no threat, but you had 7 teams riding in the wind there, and there was a team that wasn't riding there in the wind, who was sitting behind all the way back there, not at the back but just behind all the other teams. They weren't stuck all together, but Quickstep was one of them, just kind of letting every team just panic, take the front. FDJ was also super cool today. I think our guys are obviously not interested in today's stage, you know, and they've had quite an easier 3 days, although we've had a few guys touch down like Chris and that, but I think they're all good. So, you know, our team is really looking forward to the next, you know, I'd say probably in the next 4 days or so, get through these next couple of days unscathed, and then go for some stages. But I think, guys, it's been an interesting start. I think, what are we going to see? Okay, tomorrow's the rest day. It's going to be Copenhagen. Well, probably by the time you see this, will be Copenhagen rest day, whatever. They've flown there or whatever. It's different for the tour, you know, to have 3 rest days. But yeah, it's going to be a super hectic week. We've got a cobbled stage. We've also got Planche de Belfi. You know, there's a couple windy stages up north there, narrow roads. There's still a lot of nervous energy. A lot of guys are similar times. But nobody wants to lose time before Planche de Belfi. So my tip is, if guys are going to go in the breakaway, I can see them on the cobbled day or other days, just, you know, losing 5 to 10 minutes, just rolling in nice and easy, not panicking, not getting hurt. Personally, if I was there, I'd be trying to lose time, so I could just go choose one of these days to go in the breakaway where it suits that kind of breakaway stage. But yeah, you know, especially when you don't have a GC guy to really look after. So I think there's going to be a lot of guys over the next couple of days. We'll know who's thinking about a breakaway, because I can see some guys, the guys that are smart, the guys that think they'll get given that leash, they're not going to be a GC threat at all. They'll be going up the road. So watch out for a couple of guys in the next few days that lose unnecessary time. You go, oh geez, that guy at a Bazay lost 5-6 minutes. You know, watch those guys with the days where it's going to be typically lumpy, where a sprinting team doesn't back a sprinter to maybe make it. Nobody wants to ride all day in the wind. And then you're also looking at, you know, the climbing guys that will try and get away. You know, Planche de Belfi for sure, that's going to be the first real test for the climbing group. But, you know, they could let a breakaway go that day if they're not going to be a real GC threat. So going to be an interesting week, going to be panning up. But I think we're seeing a lot of the big GC teams just wasting energy. Quite honestly, I think there's been a lot of panic, a lot of talk about the wind, but I don't think we've seen any action. So I think when you look at the last 3 days, you look at the teams that have been riding in the wind there, Ineos, Jumbo, you know, everyone is keeping safe and they haven't lost time. But you know, it's only 3 stages in, and you know, who knows when the smack goes down and there's a tail crosswind. Then you're going to see the guys that have spent a bit of energy and unnecessary energy over the next few days. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments if I touched on certain things, if I didn't. You know, let's see how we go. I know it's not as funny as you thought, but yes, at least, guys, if you don't have to wear a sock, if you don't need to wear a sock on your head in a time trial, then you're winning. So I'm glad I'm not on that kind of a setup. So have a lekker week, guys. It's rest day, and we're going to have another interesting week. You know, we'll keep these videos a bit more current. I mean, I have needed a few days just to get my mind off of racing and things like that, but now I'm in it, guys. Now I'm in it. So now I'm going to give you guys a little bit what you want. I haven't got any interviews with riders or anything. It's been a bit like chaotic, but I look forward to updating you guys. I look forward to talking about the race. It's going to be super interesting. Check you later. Be lekker. Have a good week.